This is the Zone 1 podcast for a premium travel experience. The Zone 1 podcast brings you incredible travel opportunities and excursions through networktravel.ca. The Zone 1 podcast features the legendary Jackie Ray Greening, Rick McSwain from Network Travel, and I'm your host, Terry Evans.
We're rolling.
Yes, we are. We are rolling. Thank you, Jackie Ray. We're rolling once again. It's great to see the two of you in particular, and our very first guest on the Zone 1 Travel Podcast, Kim Hutton, who is what kind of nurse are you, Kim?
I'm an emergency nurse, actually.
LPN, RN, or emergency nurse? Is that something completely different?
No, I'm just a real nurse, an RN. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what RN stands for? Holy crap,
of course
real
it stands
nurse.
for real nurse. Yes.
Now, the big question is, Kim, why is there two M's in your name?
You know what? I think my dad had a few too many beers, and he was filling out the paper, and I'm surprised there wasn't like 5 or 6 M's. Not a Kimberly, just a Kim.
Smoking cigars and drinking whiskey when Kim was born.
That's right.
I kind of feel like I'm not really intruding, but I'm feeling that, you know how when you're the sober one and you walk into a group who's started a couple hours early?
Yeah.
I get the sense that the three of you have spent a lot of time together.
We have.
Yes, we have.
We have, yes.
And a few times I've come to Kim and said, Kim, have you got any drugs? Oh my God. There's one time I had sore throat. I was, oh man, you could feel it coming on. And I said to Kim, you got to have something. Let me open the bag.
Yeah.
So she hooked me up.
A traveling pharmacy.
Yeah, the
it's
tickle
awesome.
trunk.
Yeah. We love traveling with Kim.
However, I did get, disclaimer, I'm not a professional travel nurse, just a nurse that's traveled a lot with Rick. And working in emergency, you see so many clients that will come in post-travel and you hear these crazy stories. And I always think I'm really prepared. And yet when we were in the South Pacific, after snorkeling for the first 5 or 6 times, I ended up with, I now know, a swimmer's ear, but I had nothing. I had nothing for swimmer's ear. And it's not that easy to go to a pharmacy and find what you need. So there you go.
What do you need for swimmer's ear?
It's a combination of an antibiotic and an anti-inflammatory eardrop that you need.
Excuse me, what is swimmer's ear?
It's when this dude flies into her ear with a snorkel.
My Uber diver was Jackie's heard my Uber diver story, my husband trying to keep me out of the current. So, oh my goodness. So there we go. I was unprepared for my own emergency.
And Kim, you worked on stars as well, right?
Yes, I did. I've actually just retired from my 45 years of nursing. Had an amazing career, spanned a lot of different things, maternity, emergency, volunteer flight nurse with stars for 13 years, and then a little bit of occupational health thrown in there, and ended my career back in emergency.
Well, when somebody gets set to go on a vacation, whether it be an extended stay, anywhere from 30 to 90 days, long term, and they start looking at health insurance, or if they're just going for a week to a tropical destination just to get away from the winter, probably the last thing that people have on their mind is the possibility of some sort of accident or something that would require medical attention. But what are some common medical concerns that people might have quietly before a trip so that they could be prepared for something?
I think a lot of times people are embarrassed. They're embarrassed for other people to know medical conditions, right? Whether you're a diabetic or, you might have a little bit of Parkinson's, people are embarrassed to share that information. So they keep a lot of that to themselves, for sure. And fear of the unknown. You don't know when you're leaving home what you're going to have or what else you might encounter that may exacerbate the condition that you have. So a lot of people, I think they are afraid, right?
Can I ask a question? So for me, what did I pack to South Pacific and New Zealand? Polysporin, 2 Band-Aids, and Advil. Is there a pack that you recommend that you would say, here's something you should pack for every trip?
Well, and I have a crazy list here of a lot of things that I pack. And I'm just going to give you the rundown because I had to write them all down. So I always bring cold medication, your day, your night. You need Benadryl, and Benadryl is really good for sleep. It's really good for insect bites, allergic reactions. Gravol. We went through a little bit of Gravol on our last cruise.
So
It
good.
was just like popping them just like candies. Tylenol and Advil, or whatever you are used to taking. Lomatil. Lomatil is used for traveler's diarrhea, and it is an essential in any traveling first aid kit, for sure. Cough syrup. I added in eardrops. And you can go to a pharmacist and say you're traveling and get some of these medications. Eye drops, whether you need like tears, lubricating, pink eye, always nice to have a variety. Anti-inflammatory tablets. So the first thing that came to my mind was Voltaren, either the tablets and or the cream you can buy. You need your lotions for what if I get sunburned? What if I have bug bites? What if I end up with a rash from different things? So just an array of creams. Polysporin is a good one. Bug spray, suntan lotion or sunscreen, and reef safe if you're going to a tropical destination. Electrolytes are always nice to take, especially going to a really warm country where a lot of humidity. We're not used to that coming from Alberta, so electrolytes are key, especially the salt in them. Tums, Pepto-Bismol, sleeping aids, like just an over-the-counter to help you fall asleep if you're having problems, and an EpiPen. A lot of people that are allergic, you can't forget to take your EpiPen, and you need to probably take the one that does not need to be refrigerated if you're going to be out traveling around. And then just a few other things, baby powder, duct tape, and assorted Band-Aids.
What the hell do you need duct tape for?
Well,
for hostages.
For
hostages.
hostages.
Well, I'm glad I didn't say I was bringing duct tape.
So, I mean, you can use it. You repair your suitcase, or you can put it inside sandals, put it right on top of a blister. And believe it or not, the sticky side will actually help heal the blister, and I don't know why. And then the smooth side doesn't catch on your shoes. So it's,
Wow.
a little tiny tube from the dollar store duct tape is excellent. And same with powder. Powder is really good for a lot of chafing. And I forgot to add diaper cream. Everybody needs diaper cream when you travel to a
Hey,
exotic
why?
place because
To
you,
put my Depends on?
you just never know in those nether regions what might chafe. Maybe you bought a new pair of shorts and they're chafing in the wrong places, and diaper cream is going to help that.
So what's that, Zincofax, Kim?
Yeah, Zincofax, Peniton, any of those. Yeah.
Okay.
And now I see Terry looking at me like, does this woman carry a suitcase as her portable pharmacy?
Let's think.
That's exactly what I was going to say. How much extra luggage do I have to claim or pay for in order to get all this stuff? Like, or can you take it down in a kit the size of a football, or
Well,
how? Mind you, I was still also thinking about the duct tape across JR's lips.
And a little traveling pack where when you travel with Accuray, you need Demerol, earplugs.
NetworkTravel.ca for a premium travel experience. Visit the website today to find out more about these amazing travel adventures. The East Africa Safari in 2027, Antarctica in 2027, Vietnam and Cambodia this fall, Machu Picchu and the Amazon this summer. Also this summer, 2 separate vacation opportunities with private yachts in Croatia. All this and so much more. See them all at networktravel.ca.
How big of a kit do you have when you have all of this stuff then, Kim?
So, I bought a little lunch kit that I could put everything in, but then I hit a dilemma because then you go out on a day trip and you're kind of taking things. So I have kind of created in my own little mind and a few pieces of paper a little travel first aid kit that is kind of two-tiered. So like a little duffel bag on the bottom and a zip off little duffel bag for the top that you can throw into your day pack. Right? Because really, when you're going on your day
Mm.
pack, you don't need your duct tape. You probably don't need a lot of what's in this kit, but you need your Band-Aids, your Tylenol, your Advil, your EpiPen. There's a few essentials that you need to take on a day trip in your backpack.
So
So,
Kim, that's interesting. So with EpiPen, the EpiPen, you can bring a standard EpiPen for anyone to use?
well, I mean, I have one because I have allergies, but I
Okay.
mean, yeah, you could, if I had my EpiPen and somebody needed it, I would certainly share. But most people that are allergic, will bring an EpiPen.
Well, this is useful because I escort a lot of
Mhm.
groups, and it's always good to have. I didn't realize you packed this much stuff. That's incredible.
Hmm.
Oh, every time you ask her, she's got it. It's just like the never-ending tickle trunk. It's the most amazing thing.
Yes.
And she can play the ukulele.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was at the lesson.
Oh my goodness.
With all of the things that you're talking about, obviously, if you're traveling in a group of 4 or a group of 2, your husband and wife and husband, whatever the case,
Hmm.
you only need 1 set of it. And
Exactly.
there's the other thing too, where if you're traveling with a group, I suppose if we know that 2 people have that out of a group of
Hmm.
10 or something like that.
Right.
The other thing too is
Mhm.
communication is probably important. You touched on something right at the beginning about how people are maybe shy or nervous or
Hmm.
embarrassed. They don't want to talk about things that they might be afflicted with or might, come into play if they are on a ship or, on a
Hmm.
safari or something like that. But it's very important to let other people in your group know if you are dealing with something, because then that would help them save time in
Mhm.
reacting to what you're dealing with.
Exactly.
The other thing too is travel insurance. Make sure somebody on your trip knows
Hmm.
where your travel insurance information
Yes.
is so
Yes.
that that can be handed over if need be at the
Right.
drop of a hat.
That's right. Now, I know there's always the question, do I take my medication in my travel bag, like on my carry-on, or do I put it in my luggage? And, I always recommend that you take what you need in your carry-on. And I mean, even your little first aid kit with some of those things, you always think it's easy to be able to go and buy, but sometimes you can't go and buy even the
Mhm.
simplest things. So I always say you need to take it in your carry-on with you. And you need to consider in doing that medications that may need to be refrigerated. So insulin, for example, needs to be insulated. Now, anybody who is a diabetic knows that. They have special little kits that will keep it cold, special thermometers. But what if you get waylaid? What if your flight is delayed? You can always talk to the stewards on the plane to see if you can use a little bit of their fridge space. Not ideal, but even to refreeze your ice packs that you have in your bag. So you have to remember a few of those things, when you're traveling.
But what about physicality? What about, like if we're doing a long plane trip, they were
Sorry.
We need a medic. We need a nurse. Is there a nurse in the room?
IV, set up IV with P5W. Where's the
Oh,
defibrillator?
Exactly, exactly.
If you're traveling from, say, Edmonton to Puerto Vallarta, it's a relatively short
Mhm,
trip, maybe Arizona or something like that, even to Florida, it's a relatively short trip. But if you're flying, all of a sudden you're doing a Toronto or Vancouver to South Africa, and it's a
mhm,
one way, or, there's no stops in between. You have to take into consideration what flight does to the human body as
mhm.
well. Is there things that we should be paying attention to or incorporating to our flying routine?
Well, fluids. Dehydration is huge on those longer flights, right? You're in this tiny little enclosed cabin. So fluids, lots and lots of fluids. This is where you can take some of your electrolytes. And I mean, they have all kinds of little sport packages of electrolytes now, or the old vitamin C with the electrolytes. Just pop one of those into your water. I know we all like to have a pre-flight beverage and perhaps one on the plane, but alcohol will naturally dehydrate you. So a good rule of thumb is if you want to have a beer, then you have to follow it up with a bottle of water, right? Get up and move around as much as you can. And I know that might be impossible now on some of the new flights with the seating so close, you may not even be able to get in or get out, but you know, get up, walk around. Even if it's down to the washroom and back, compression socks are a really good thing for longer flights. And depending on your need, you can always talk to your doctor or your travel pharmacist about compression socks for a longer trip.
Tell me what compression socks do exactly. I know what the word compression means, but what exactly do they do when you put them on?
Well, it helps a lot of the blood and fluid just from pooling in your legs because they're down, and if you're not moving, it's just a great place for fluid, blood to collect, and not huge, but it can make it a little uncomfortable for you to walk once you do get off the plane. So it's just a really, really good idea.
What about a compression toque? And I'm asking for someone who might have had too much wine in New Zealand.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Just put it on.
Reluctantly.
Hi, this is Terry Evans, hoping you'll join me for the Reluctantly Podcast. ReluctantlyPodcast.com, with guests like Tom Cochran, Brian Johnson from AC/DC, Brian Baumler, and Kevin Lowe, formerly with the Edmonton Oilers. Also Darby Mills, Lee Aaron, Haley Benedict, and more. ReluctantlyPodcast.com.
Reluctantly.
I knew it to tell you a funny story. I was thinking about things you take along, and you had the diarrhea pills on the list. And
Right.
we had gone to Italy, and I had diarrhea. So I go to the pharmacist, and when they don't speak your language
Mhm.
and you have to do charades for diarrhea, I'll let you all visualize that on your own. It was my girlfriend, Michelle. She was still pissing her pants laughing as she was going out of the pharmacy. And I was doing charades trying to tell them that I had diarrhea. So, yeah. So take it with you because people, like you say, you might not have a pharmacy available
Right.
to you, or
Mhm.
they don't speak the language.
There's lots of diarrhea stories, and it's funny. We had one guy; he was just a bloody character, and he's always messing around, chirping everyone. And anyways, so he ended up getting the diarrhea. So
You literally messing around.
we were in the elevator, and so I said, "Jimmy, how's the diarrhea?" Everybody, nobody knew who he was. And he was mortified. He left us alone after that.
Oh my gosh.
But
So the other thing when you're flying as well, Terry, is sleep deprivation. And it's not bad on a short flight, but sometimes those red-eye flights, they sound good, but it's if you have problems sleeping to begin with, or it's just not ideal to try and sleep on an airplane. So again, bring a neck pillow, have something to cover your eyes, take a sleep aid if you feel you need. I know a lot of people use essential oils for sleep, anxiety, jet lag. So just, consider your own routine at home. If you typically have a hard time falling asleep, or if you wake up a lot, bring those aids to help you when you're on the plane.
I was going to ask about managing anxiety and jet lag, and I mean, there's people who start suffering from anxiety 2 or 3 days before a flight even departs
Mhm.
because of how they feel and how they manage their emotions and psychology when it comes to flying.
That's right.
Uh, then I know people who just cannot sleep on an airplane. So
Mhm.
not only do they have the anxiety for a day or two prior, which affects their sleep, but then all of a sudden they're on a 16-hour flight to the other side of the world and they don't sleep. And
Mhm.
then the different time of day and the jet lag, and it just ends up being a mess from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know how some people cope with it.
Right. Well, and again, a lot of times, if you have problems at home or if you've traveled and you run into those concerns, then you have to mitigate it at every point that you possibly can, right? Like even having your iPad with movies downloaded because, you end up on a flight, there's no in-flight entertainment, it's all down. Have your music to listen to or have your favorite series on your tablet or your iPad that you can watch. And sometimes that's just a comfort for
Yeah.
people.
And noise.
Melatonin seems to work. I'm sorry, Rick. Melatonin,
Mhm,
for me, and I'm flying back, I start to take it and as I try to get my clock back on home
mhm,
time
mhm.
or destination time. I find that kind of works.
That
Sure.
and noise canceling headphones too make a big difference.
Mhm.
They
Mm-hmm.
all of the muffle of the aircraft.
Right.
And Terry, you're 6 foot what? 6'2", 6'3"? Do you sleep on a plane?
I'm 6'5", and no,
Oh,
I
you're
do
six
not
foot
sleep
five.
on a plane. I am
You
never
crew.
comfortable on a plane. I have had multi conversations with Michelle, ensuring that she has done me the favor through booking with
Yeah.
networktravel.ca that I have a comfortable or at least a seat as comfortable as possible without
Yes.
it costing me, thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's obviously different physical things that happen with people
Mhm,
that will affect people differently. Me being 6'5" and trying to cram myself into an
Hmm.
economy seat, but at the same time, there's also the other end of the spectrum too. When you're dealing with little people, children, they end
mhm.
up being in a place where they're stir crazy. And what about things that you can suggest from a nurse's point of view with kids? Is it melatonin and
No,
Drug
it's the duct tape.
drugs are always good. Drugs are always really good. Well, and
Here,
I guess
lady, shoot your kid up. Here's a roll of duct tape.
exactly, exactly. I mean, again, red-eye flights they always look really good, but again, if you have children that don't sleep, that's probably not your best option. Probably better to try and fly during the day where you can at least keep them busy. And they have amazing packets of things that you can purchase, a little travel bag for children with games and puzzles and stickers. And of course, it depends on their age as well. But there's a lot of those things that you can use, and they do have children's melatonin that you can use, if you are doing that red eye and you want them to get some sleep.
is there anything to add from a pet point of view, or is that a silly question to ask? You obviously are a nurse, a human nurse, but
Well,
is there something that you are aware of that relating to pets and travel?
well, I know there's huge anxiety for individuals that have to have their dogs stowed in the cargo area. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a real concern for pet owners. And then there's also a concern for pet owners where they're small enough to go underneath, the seat. I mean, what are we doing now with the shorter spaces? So my recommendation, I mean, we have travel pharmacists, and I'm sure if you went to your vet that you use, they would also be able to prescribe something for your animals that, was safe, that would be effective, would decrease anxiety, all those types of things for traveling with animals.
Pre-planning is key, no matter what, whether
It
it's pets,
Mhm.
is. It
your own
is.
personal physical makeup, or things that you might be dealing with from a sickness level, or being afflicted with
Yes.
something or dealing with something, and then to pets. So yeah.
Right. You know, and most pharmacies now have a travel pharmacist on staff. And I always think it's a really good idea to check out your pharmacy. Do they have a travel pharmacist? And help them plan your vacation. So you're going off to South Africa. What do I need for immunizations to go to South Africa? Your physicians typically are not really well versed in a lot of travel medicine. Travel clinics are, but I like to go to a pharmacy that I deal with because they have all of your history. Help them plan your trip, I think is, a really good idea.
I
Um,
know what I do as I look and I see, oh, Kim Hutton's on this vacation. I don't have to take anything.
That's what I do too.
well, there you go. But there are key vaccines that you need. I mean, most of
Mhm.
us,
Mhm.
given our age, had our childhood vaccines, your measles, mumps, rubella, your tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis. What vaccines are good for life? What vaccines do you have to replenish every 5, every 10 years. Most kids in Alberta would get Hep B, I believe, in grade 4 or grade 6. But to travel, you almost need the twin Rex. So that's your Hep B and your Hep A, you know?
Yeah, we did that going to Africa, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you need yellow
Mhm.
fever? Do you need typhoid? Do you get your every year flu vaccine? What about the new RSV, the pneumonia, the shingles? And you think to yourself, I'm young, I'm healthy. Why do I need those? Well, not every country that you go to are people vaccinated against measles, mumps, rubella. Or, tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, and polio. Polio was eradicated until 10 years ago, and it's cropping up in different countries. You don't update your tetanus. You step on something, you get an infection, you end up with lockjaw. There's a lot of those things. Anyone over 65 can get a pneumonia vaccine. RSV is huge, and especially post-COVID, because so many viral infections are respiratory. So if you get the RSV, you're more protected. Shingles, the shingles vaccine. Now, you can only get shingles if you've had chicken pox and you think, I should be okay. But you might go to a country that has never vaccinated for chicken pox. So now you're around somebody, you pick up that virus, and you're not going to get chicken pox. Chances are you're going to get shingles. Right? And we all see the commercials. They're painful, they're sore, they ruin everything, right?
This concludes part 1 of Nurse Kim's medical travel tips on the Zone 1 podcast. Part 2 will be here for you Friday, January 30th. This has been the Zone 1 podcast. For a premium travel experience, Rick McSwain from networktravel.ca, Jackie Ray Greening. I'm Terry Evans. The Zone 1 podcast is part of the Reluctantly Podcast Network.